900 kilometers south of the equator, mist rises off a shallow pool inside a gorge in northern Tanzania. A young hominin edges toward the water on bare feet, careful of the heat radiating up through the mud at the shoreline. Something is drifting near the center of the pool, pale, curled, cooked pink at the edges. It fell in alive. It did not come out that way. Somewhere else on the timeline, in 2026, a microwave dings, and a phone call gets interrupted for 90 seconds of reheated dinner nobody thinks twice about. Back at the pool, there is no ding, no flame, no flint spark. Just water hot enough to kill, and food no one alive yet has a word for. Fire gets all the credit for turning raw ancestors into thinking, talking humans. But the timeline has a 2-million-year hole in it. Cooking-like behavior showing up in bones, teeth, and brains long before anyone can prove a controlled flame existed. Something was heating, softening, and breaking down food before fire ever entered the picture. Start with the tools themselves. In 2011, archaeologist Sonia Harmond of Stony Brook University took a wrong turn while driving through the Badlands of West Turkana, Kenya, and ended up staring at a scatter of stone flakes that didn't look natural. Her team kept digging. What they found, published in Nature in 2015, were stone artifacts dated to 3.3 million years old. Hand-sized cores and flakes deliberately struck apart at a site now called Lomekwi 3. That's roughly 500,000 years before the genus Homo even existed. Whoever made those tools wasn't human yet, not by any definition that fits comfortably in a textbook. Harmond named the tradition Lomekwian, and it rewrote the opening chapter of technology itself. Here's the detail that matters for this video. Those tools weren't built for carving steak. Many are heavy and blunt, built for battering, smashing tubers, cracking nuts, pounding fibrous plant matter into something a small-toothed mouth could actually manage. Cooking, in the loosest and oldest sense, may not have started with heat at all. It may have started with a rock. Now here's the complication. The obvious assumption is that cooking begins with fire. Tame a flame, roast a carcass, evolution rewards bigger brains. That's the popular version. It's also incomplete. Confirmed, repeated evidence of hominins controlling fire doesn't show up reliably until roughly 1 million years ago at the earliest, and some researchers place habitual, everyday fire use closer to 400,000 years ago. That leaves an enormous gap, millions of years during which brains were already expanding, teeth were already shrinking, and guts were already getting smaller. If fire wasn't there yet, something else was doing fire's job. That something starts looking less mysterious inside a Harvard lab in 2016. Biological anthropologists Catherine Zink and Daniel Lieberman ran an experiment that sounds almost absurd. They wired volunteers' jaw muscles with sensors and fed them raw goat meat alongside carrots, beets, and yams. Some whole, some sliced, some pounded into paste. The raw, unprocessed meat was nearly impossible to chew into swallowable pieces. One researcher compared it to chewing gum that never breaks down. But sliced meat and pounded vegetables changed everything. Published in Nature, their results showed that a diet built around roughly 1/3 meat, sliced, with vegetables pounded, cut the number of chews needed by 17%, and the force of each chew by 26%. Extrapolated across a year, that's about 2.5 million fewer chews. No fire required. Just a sharp edge and a heavy stone, doing to food what teeth used to have to manage alone. So mechanical processing gets the mouth most of the way there. But there's a second technique that skeptics of the fire did everything story tend to overlook completely. And this one uses real heat, just none of it controlled by anyone. Turns out, geochemist Ainara Sistiaga was looking for something else entirely in 2016, collecting sediment samples at Olduvai Gorge, the same Tanzanian valley where Louis and Mary Leakey once unearthed the first Homo habilis fossils. Buried in a layer dated to 7 million years old, her team found lipid traces from a heat-loving bacterium called Thermocrinus ruber, an organism that only survives in water above roughly 80 degrees Celsius, boiling hot spring water. Published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2020, the finding means Olduvai wasn't just dusty grassland back then. It had steaming hydrothermal pools, sitting right next to the sites where early hominins were already living and hunting. Sistiaga and colleagues from MIT and the University of Alcalá floated a striking possibility. An animal that stumbled into one of those pools would come out already poached. No spark, no kindling. Just geography doing the cooking, more than 1 million years before anyone is confirmed to have tamed a flame on purpose. Put those threads together and a picture forms that doesn't need a campfire to explain the biggest changes in the human body. Stone tools were softening food starting 3.3 million years ago. Slicing and pounding were cutting the workload on jaws and guts long before anyone struck a flint. And in at least one place, boiling hot water may have been doing thermal cooking's job by accident, over 1,000,000 years before controlled fire is reliably documented anywhere. To be fair, not everyone agrees on how much credit fire deserves. Primatologist Richard Wrangham still argues that fire itself was the real trigger for the leap to Homo erectus, and plenty of researchers side with him. But the gap between the first shrinking teeth and the first confirmed hearth is real, and mechanical processing plus opportunistic heat are the leading candidates for what filled it. Not one invention. A toolkit, built in stages, most of it with no flame in sight. Back at that steaming Olduvai pool, the mist is still rising. Whatever waited in and never waited out becomes dinner within the hour, cooked by chemistry, not by choice. No fire was lit. No credit was claimed. And somewhere else on the timeline, a hand at Lomekwi keeps pounding a root into something soft enough to finally swallow. Long before anyone controlled a flame, the ingredients for humanity were already being prepared. Not with fire, with everything before it.